the thing is, like, I still feel this way, even though brick and mortar isn't as common unless you're talking big box. But and you wouldn't think so with the way we have a discussion, but we know each other. We're friends. Therefore, I have no problem yak. But at my core, I'm an introvert. I don't like people. I don't like being around people. It's funny because our episode next week is going to be talking about crowds. But I am a firm believer that every person should work retail for like it.
We've made this point multiple times,
Well,
but I
because
do
it
agree.
really forced me into having to talk to people. Like, I remember, like, the feedback and the coaching that I received from Lisa when I first started as a 16-year-old was about talking to people more, greeting
Yeah.
people when they came in. And so I'm a firm believer in that everyone needs to work retail. All right, welcome back, everybody. We are here on March 10th. I've got 1 week to go until my birthday, but we are launching off with episode 19. 19 today.
It's a lot of episodes.
It is. You know, the fact that we're going to be we're knocking on 20, which will be next week, of course, for my birthday. Hey, episode 20 on my birthday. But
Your birthday, I get new eyes. It's a great time.
That's right. You no more glasses. Oh, man. But yeah, so today, we alluded to it last week. We're jumping back into GameStop centric. So today's episode is going to be from midnight lines to empty stores. So probably a little depressing at times for anyone that's nostalgic for GameStop goodness.
Yeah, it's just there's been a lot of closings which we'll go over in a while, which is expected because there's so much stuff switching to online.
Dude, it's nuts, and I mean the big focus will be, you know, yeah, we're gonna talk GameStop from a whole, you know, but really the local impact. So the Louisville listeners will definitely get and appreciate some of this, but you know, the local impacts, the general nostalgia fuel that we always look at, the re-rise of other kind of game stores. That's going to be kind of what encompasses the story mode. And for our side quests, we're going to do Power Cycle, kind of a deeper nostalgia pool, GameStop focused, of course. And then the DLC drop. So the DLC drop, if you remember, we talk about new releases, upcoming titles. We've had a couple pretty huge releases in the last couple of weeks. So we're going to talk about that and then just some of the other big upcoming stuff. But other than that, I think that's going to cover it for press start. Did I miss anything?
No, that sounds pretty much everything that we need to talk about there. We can go ahead and launch into our story mode.
Yep. Let's go ahead and jump into our story mode today, from midnight lines to empty stores. All right. So in general, like, it's so funny. So we've talked about this 1,000 times. We met at GameStop. That's how we met. We started working at GameStop. You started at the busiest store in the city, because right, you started at
yeah, I did, but it was between that and was it Springhurst for the two.
That's right.
The two.
Yeah.
And then we were fighting for first in the district because we had the E-Town store that was huge.
That's right, because they had just opened.
It was on the rise. Yeah, it was on the rise. Like,
not
we
the
were
mall
the top.
Store, the new E-Town, right?
Yeah. So once it got going, so until our mall store closed, and then whenever our mall store closed, it pushed a ton of traffic into it. So.
Right, which is so depressing, and you know, and that's
which it's not closed anymore. That's what's crazy right now. It's one of the few stores that are open in Louisville.
Well, and that's the thing. I started at the mall store, J Mall, and it was like 2 months out of the year. 2 months out of the year was the busiest store, like
by far,
because
I ran that store, and those 2 months were nuts.
Oh my gosh!
November, December in the mall store was insane.
Well, and that's something that kind of blows my mind in general. Is I left. So I started 2005, worked 2005 to 2011, and I started out in J Mall, so working in a mall store. Which made sense as I could walk and it was so close. Plus, Sample was there. But then I hopped around from J Mall to, like, I helped open as a part timer. I helped open Bashford Manor, and then I primarily ran, you know, on Dixie with Dixie Manor, and then Park Place, and then Southland. But I left in 2011, and you didn't. When did you leave? You were there a while after I left.
2018, I think.
So
2018, because I started at the school board in 2018. So
Yeah. So, and so when I left, so I did some Googling. It's not often that I actually do the pre-Googling like I was thinking. And 2011, when I left, I saw that the GameStop stores were at their peak with 6,600 stores globally, and then 4,600 were in the U.S. And I mean, and I say globally, but they were operating in U.S., Canada, Europe, Australia, and there was a couple like Oceania markets, but not really. But
were
6,600
they EB
stores.
Games over there? Or?
Well, so yeah, because they had so that was after they bought EB Games in 2005.
Yeah,
So like in Canada, like and I think even to this day they're still branded
they are.
as EB Games. So, but
I
no,
think Wayne said he saw one over there when they went
he
to
went to
Canada.
he went to Canada
Mhm.
for what?
They went over
Not that there's no reason to go to Canada, but like why did he go to Canada?
He just wanted. They wanted to see. He wanted to see Canada, so
Did
they went to Canada.
did he do like was it did he go to Niagara Falls and then went to the
I don't.
Canada
I really
side?
don't
Oh,
remember. I
I'll have to
really don't
ask him about
remember.
that. I didn't realize that. But
Yeah,
no,
they went. It was last year, I think.
yeah, but they're still branded as EB Games. But now in 2026, so we're talking what is this? 15 years later? Can I do math? Yeah, 15
Yeah.
years later.
Surprisingly, you did it right.
Hey, I'm very impressed with
Let's see
myself.
if you can count the stores, though.
So 4,000 globally. So we just went from 6,600 globally to 4,000 across all countries, and then 2,500 in the U.S. So they went from 4,600 in the U.S. to 2,500. And you know what's funny? On my resume, now I don't have it anymore because I've had other jobs, so I took it off. But years ago, my resume talked about the ranking of stores, and I talked about how I took a store, which was 5752 New Cut. I took from like being 4,100 out of 4,600 to being like 900 out of 4,600, like the rankings. But now they only have 2,500 in the U.S., which is mind-boggling to me. And apparently, over 1,000 have closed since 2019.
Well, I was gonna say too. I remember when I first started because I started in 2010. So when I first became like an SGA and stuff
Yeah,
like
so you
that,
were starting kind of right at the
it
peak
was
kind of
booming.
thing.
It was booming. They would shut down 100 stores and then build 200 stores. Like
Right, and they were doing those like stores of
yeah,
the future thing. So they were shutting
right.
the old ones and then bringing these
hmm
like super bougie looking
Yeah,
stores.
yeah, yeah. So like they had like because we switched to that's whenever they started trying to get into collectibles and stuff like that. Towards I think I was an assistant. So remember 707, they changed that entire wall to where they had some
The
super
collectibles,
cool
the board
statues, pops,
games.
board games,
They started
things like
carrying
that.
Munchkins, like the card game, because I
Yeah,
remember
they started
buying some
carrying
Munchkins
all of
there.
that. Hmm.
See, and all that stopped before, or all that started after I left. Like we were still niche, not niche, but video game store, and then it was like a year after I left was when all the collectibles and all
Yeah.
that stuff started coming in.
So, so I see the note on here. You have the CEO Paul Raines. I remember him very,
Yep,
very much.
I met him
Um,
one time at conference.
yeah, I remember him. I never met him in person, but I remember him. Do you remember when? The only note you don't have in here. Do you remember when he left? Did he leave when Reggie took over?
Well, Reggie never actually took over. He was just on the
No,
board.
that's what it was.
But no, Paul Raines. The thing I find so funny about Paul Raines is that I was super deep into I mean, I still am obsessed and love the show 24. But at that time was like peak 24 era, and there was a character in season 4 and 5. Nope, season 4 of 24 named Paul Raines. So I thought that was so cool. And see, here's the thing: the whole reason I got into 24. I don't know if I told you this or not. So you remember when GameStop carried DVDs?
Yeah.
And you remember when they got rid of DVDs, they were doing like buy two get four free because they were trying to get rid of them. So that's when Tim got me. We've talked about Tim on the show several times. We both worked with Tim. Tim mentored both of us. But Tim was telling me about all these shows that I needed to watch. He was telling me about Sons of Anarchy, 24,
This is
Lost.
before streaming too.
It's before streaming was really taking over. I think it was getting rolling, but not
But it wasn't
huge.
there. So like you
No.
still real that was the best way to watch them.
Yeah. So he was telling me about Lost. He was telling me about Sons of Anarchy. He was telling me about 24 and how I needed to watch them. Well, here's the thing. At our store at Dixie Manor, we had like the first 2 or 3 seasons of all those shows. Now, 24 had 6 seasons out at the time, but the writer's strike was going on. Now, this would have been around 2008, I guess, because I was at Dixie Manor. So the writer's strike was going on, so there was a hiatus. Well, we started calling other GameStops, and that the inventory showed they had Lost, they had 24, they had Sons of Anarchy. There was a couple other shows that I was watching that he didn't recommend, like CSI Miami, CSI New York. So we called around and ended up getting all of these TV show box sets shipped to the store so that I could take advantage of the buy two get four free. So pay like $30 to get like this whole season of 24 or whole series of 24 at the time. So that was how I even got into that. And so anyway, a complete squirrel moment
So
there.
I just looked it up. So he was until 2017 he was CEO. So he was CEO almost my entire GameStop
Okay,
career.
yeah.
So I mean I can't remember. There was an interim. I don't think they elected a actual CEO. They had an interim because he stepped away, and that was because I left early 2018.
Yeah.
So it would be
Yeah,
like
it looks like there was an interim appointed, Michael Mahler, after Paul Raines stepped down. And I mean, the CEO now is a guy named Ryan Cohen. I don't know anything about the guy now, but the thing that's like the biggest deal to point out, though, you already alluded to it, bringing up Reggie, but Reggie Fils-Aimé, who anyone who doesn't know who Reggie is, Reggie,
Reggie is
man,
a Nintendo legend.
well, and
That's
that's the thing. Reggie ran Nintendo America from for 13 years. Like he was
and he was
the
a super cool dude. I did talk to Reggie.
I met him one time at
I
conference.
met him one time at conference.
And what's so funny, so he ran Nintendo of America for 13 years from May 2006. So literally I started GameStop in March of 2005. And I always played games and was into games, but as you know, working at GameStop, you tend to be more in tune with the industry. Even though
Mm-hmm.
it's just a retail store, some people would think that it was stupid that you said you knew about the industry working at GameStop, but you really did, especially when you got to be a store manager and stuff like that.
That was the man that everyone talked about and they knew quite a bit about
Yes,
was Reggie.
and I would argue, I mean, Nintendo's going to be successful regardless, but Reggie like really like had a presence about him in the U.S. market for Nintendo. He was there for the Wii launch, you know, the multiple DS iterations, the Switch, because he left in 2019. I think the Switch came out in 16 or 17. But he left Nintendo in 19, but they appointed him to the board at GameStop, not CEO, but the board in 2020. So we're talking COVID time. And you know, but he left in 2024. And to me,
I think he left like though. I think he's getting to that point where he's done.
oh yeah, I agree, but it also makes me like internalize and chuckle that you know that you're really screwed if you fumble Reggie. Now, not saying that GameStop fumbled Reggie, because like you said, he very well could just be okay. I'm
Yeah, because
done.
I remember his statement when he said he was leaving GameStop.
Yeah, you know, but the fact that Reggie was a part of GameStop and could not help bring them back at some capacity. Now I get it. Being a member of a board, you don't necessarily have operating
A lot of
control.
control. You're just trying to give advice, basically.
Yeah, but what's funny is when I met Reggie, I didn't really know what C-suite type people were. Like when we worked at GameStop, you had our district managers who were so in tune with us and in the stores that they didn't feel like out of reach, you know. Um, I would say for me, I think it became more personable when in your later tenure. But for me, like the regional managers felt that C-suite level like out of touch for me. But as I've had a career in other areas though and met C-suite types, Reggie was not a C-suite type at all.
So, well, I don't know where he's at now, but our regional. Now it changed like towards the end of my career because I honestly think he was feeling some pressure.
Yeah, probably.
Like,
it starts from the top down.
When he came to my store, the first time I ever met him, I didn't know who he was. He was brand new, like a brand new regional. He walked in my store, or he walked in the store. I was an assistant, or no, I was an SGA. And I walk out and I start talking to him. Dude, super down to earth. I didn't know who he was. I was just treating him like a customer. And then he goes, "Hey, how's it going? I'm your new regional manager." And I was like
a stealth drop on you.
Like, what? And we talked. For a little bit.
They felt very
like
out of reach, whenever
yeah.
they would come in.
Well, I never met the one that I believe he was the same one that my regional replaced the regional that I think you had.
Yeah, the one I had the funny last name.
Yes,
yeah.
That's okay.
Yep.
So, mine had a great last name.
Yes, I know. And it was funny. I don't want to drop these names because
that's why I'm not.
Because I think some of them.
He's still there.
Yeah,
I think he's still there.
I agree.
So I had a conversation with him, and he's one of the reasons actually that there was two people that kept me and made me want to stay at GameStop. Obviously, I ended up leaving. Some other district managers came in. I wasn't happy with them.
Right.
There was one district manager that I felt fully supported me in trying to become a district manager.
Yeah, and we've talked about that. We've talked about that.
Yeah. He was a super good dude. And then I had there was the next couple after him I really, really liked.
Yeah.
And you actually met, one of the district managers.
Yeah.
And he's the one that actually went out to bat for me.
Well, and unfortunately was the one
regional.
And unfortunately that one is the one who did not bat for me. Which is why there's some issues there. Or maybe we're thinking two different people.
No, hold on.
I actually just realized something, complete derail. So for folks listening, normally Austin and I sit in the same room, but we've kind of adopted this remote methodology just for convenience sake because, life. So, Austin, I need you to stand up real quick because I need to see the shirt that you're wearing.
It is.
Is it a Hakuna Matata shirt? Look
yeah.
Which one I'm wearing. I'm wearing my Scar shirt. So I'm not wearing Dragon Ball today, but we are both ironically wearing Lion King shirts. And okay, so you just text me the name. So no, the one you're talking about, I loved him in a very non-homosexual
He was a
way.
good dude. He was genuinely just a good dude.
Dude, he was. And you know what's funny is that Tim and I were responsible for training him when he became a store manager.
Yeah.
So, great dude.
So
okay, yeah.
What I was getting at was with money. So money, I will never forget this. I just took over he never visited me when I was at Poplar, because I wasn't at Poplar very long.
Right. I even forget
what
that
happened
story even popped up.
I was because it wasn't there very long. So I was the temp to basically get prepared to take over whenever Amanda went out for maternity.
Right.
And it was right as 2K was coming out. It was right at the thing because she had her twins in September, so it was getting
into that new release.
She came back. I think she came back literally 2 weeks before Black
Christmas
Friday.
or Black Friday. Yeah.
So those few weeks, I dealt with, or I had Amanda, or I had money in my store.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No,
you're
I
good.
had him in my store. And he was fantastic, helping me. He's like, dude, this is our store. This is our Louisville store. I want to make sure we're good. And I would go do stuff, and it would be, and I would ask him. I'd be like, hey, do you think we should do this, this, or this? And he's like, hey, look, this is how it works on a business perspective. Can you think of it like this? And I would like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And he was like, there was one mishap I had, and it wasn't an intentional mishap. It was as a interim store manager, you kind of had different things like you
Oh
were
yeah,
a store
I'm just now
manager.
realizing you weren't a manager at this point. You were just
No,
filling those
I
shoes.
was, but I wasn't.
Right.
Like
Yes. 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 Yes.
so, there was still a little bit of a different. Like I wasn't salaried; I was still hourly as an interim store manager. So I still had to work the 44 hours, but I couldn't go over the 44 hours. My hours were all messed up. I was in the middle of hiring all the people for
Holidays at two different
holiday for a store that
stores.
I wasn't even dealing with.
Right.
And I had to take. I was still kind of like our DM at the time was helping with my poplar store,
Yeah.
and he
Yeah.
wanted me to really focus on this store. Well, then I get out of this store. This is where it gets wild. So Amanda comes back. I leave. This is like I said, like
20.
no. So this is like the first week of November, first or second week of November.
Going into peak. Going into peak.
I go to Poplar. I'm like, okay, this is gonna be
How
okay. Like
how
Poplar's
was
way low,
Poplar for that
way
holiday
low.
season though? Like with
Dude,
it being
well,
new to the
I don't know
area?
because I wasn't there.
Okay.
Hold
All
on.
right.
I get to Poplar. I'm there for 1 week. DM calls, hey, you now run Jefferson Mall. I
That's
said,
right. That's
excuse
right.
me? I said, like, now I'm a full-time store manager. So when I moved back to Poplar, I was full-time
And
Poplar.
you do realize, like, the reason that I have no doubt, the reason that you got picked for J Mall is all that time you did at Timberwood.
Oh, for sure. I knew
I
that.
mean,
Like, I knew
because
that.
that
So
that store
he
was so
told me
busy.
that later. He
Okay,
told
yeah,
me that
yeah,
later. But he was like, well, my entire career was at that store. Was
yeah,
at Timberwood. So
yep.
I was used to the business. I had done 3 or 4 holidays as key holder / assistant.
I mean, that was the entire reason I got moved
Exactly.
to that store for 1 month is because I had worked at such a low volume store. They're like, need you to go cut your. I mean, because I was a part timer at
Yeah.
J
So
Mall.
I had years at that store. So they were like, so I got to Poplar. I get the call. Hey, you're going to the mall. And I'm like,
So your
all right.
first your first store manager gig, I don't think I realized that was literally the holidays at J Mall.
No, technically
Yeah.
it was Poplar.
Oh yeah.
Technically. But
Really
yes,
cutting your teeth was J
my
Mall
first
and the
Christmas as a
holidays.
store manager was the J Mall with a staff that I completely inherited.
Man, I don't think
And
I realized that.
when I got to the mall, there were things that were done differently than how I have always
Oh
done it
yeah,
in the store.
yeah, yeah. And I can't even remember who would have been there before. I mean, because this is after
Uh,
all the people from my era
yeah,
were
you
gone by
wouldn't have
then.
known me. You
Yeah,
wouldn't have known me.
yeah. It was all.
Actually, I think he was an assistant for. Uh, he was Tim's assistant whenever Tim left, and he took over when Tim left.
Okay, yeah, okay. I know exactly what you're talking about. Wife also worked there, if I remember. We're gonna have to figure out names on that one,
Yeah,
but I think so.
yeah. There's sometimes we name drop, but it's people
If it's people we
that we know
deal with and
aren't
talk to
there.
regularly enough
Yeah.
that we know
So,
won't mind,
but
which I will say there is one name drop. You know, you talked about mentorship through DMs and stuff like that, and I talked about Tim and Lisa both being mentors to me. But one name I haven't dropped at all, is Chris. You know, Chris was the DM that we had that literally, like, that's why I thought I was going to make a career out of GameStop. Chris was the one that told me I needed to, make sure you go to college and, do this, and I'll help you get where you need to go, and da 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 da. And ultimately, what ended my career at GameStop was this kind of malicious, attack that started at the DM level and kind of worked its way down to people who, were kind of deep rooted. But Chris was another very crucial person for me, as far as my time and my progression there. I mean, look, the whole reason we exist together right now and are doing this podcast is because of GameStop. Most of my best employment memories come from it, and from the mall. Like, so
well,
that mall store is kind of where everything started for me.
and that's what. So I got it 2 weeks before. Regional comes in. He's like, "Hey, Austin, how's it going?" And
The
I'm like,
fact you got a regional visit that fast.
and I was like, "Sir, I'm gonna be honest. I'm trying." And he goes, "Come here and talk to me for a minute." And he pulls me back. He tells me a story. This works out because our last episode was about Pokemon, right?
Oh yeah.
The man started when Pokemon Blue and Red released on the Game Boy Color, and
Good
he was a
Lord.
store manager, and apparently that's when he got his store. Is right before that game came out.
Probably in Nashville, if I remember correctly.
Yes. I think he came up from
Because
there, and
geographically, I think he was in Nashville.
so,
Nash face.
and I was like, oh. And then he went on a big store. We did really well that holiday season. Like it was,
man.
I did well. Now, this is the crazy part. So, Christmas ends. You know, we do New Year's. The second week of January. I've been in busy stores my entire career. That's when the new DM, our DM, got let go for whatever happened. The DM that took over was just kind of in both because he was the neighboring DM.
Right. That's right.
Well, he was the neighboring
North,
DM, so he just took both districts for a while.
Right.
Until they placed a new one in ours.
Was it still, we don't have to name drop, was it still Dilbert?
Yes, it was. Who is now unless he's retired, he is very high up in GameStop.
Oh, he's still there. That's awesome.
He left, became regional, and I think when I looked up, because there was a way you could search it, he was still there.
Oh, that's awesome. That's cool. That is. I will say there is something cool.
He was a nice guy.
Oh yeah,
he was a super nice guy.
There is something what I was getting cool about people that we know that are still there. I think I'm really limited on who's still there. But.
Well, and when he got there, hey, we're closing the store, and I'm like, I just got here, and he's like, yeah, you're going to Dixie Manor.
And night and day traffic wise.
So then I get to Dixie Manor, and I'm like standing there with my hands just like, what do I do? Have, no hours, no anything. You're basically always by yourself.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Like, you may have one or two employees outside of your couple of your assistant and your SGA. But
well, and the thing is, before my thought process is to go directly where you're going with this, with the closing of the mall store. But before I lose this thought, because it popped in my head when you were talking, something else that's really interesting is, when I was still there, store managers were salary. You had the 6-day mandatory work weeks during the holidays, which meant like 52 hours a week, like it was expected. When you became store manager, like I can't remember.
It was a little bit after.
I believe it was, and I don't want to get political, but I do believe it had something to do with Obamacare coming into effect with
some
guidelines and all that.
It was an insurance overtime thing.
Where store managers went to hourly, and you had that, like holidays, they allowed so much overtime or whatever. But to me, that is when there became a pretty dramatic culture shift within GameStop. Even from a shopping perspective, like it was like I think of when I was a kid shopping at GameStop. That's how I got to know AJ. That's how I got to know Lisa. That's how I got to know these store managers.
Because people were always there, and you didn't have that anymore because you were there for your 44 hours. And I think they've even dumbed it down now to where lower volume stores, they've even changed hours in some of them. And this is the other thing. So we're talking about store closings and stuff like that. And there's some stores, I think they've changed it back now, that were only open some days from like 12 to 7.
Oh, yeah. Well, and
so like you're only open 12 to 7. Like that's literally whenever businesses are open.
Because
so like if I work an office job, I don't even know if I can get there.
No, well, because they used to be, we'd open at 10, and then you'd close at 9. We'd get there at 9. We'd get there at 9 in the morning, get your TOH and all that done, and then you would, at minimum, be there 30 minutes after close. Of course, you had some people that took too long, or if you were a busy store, you had till 10.
It got even, when we switched to the hourly stuff, we couldn't even get there at 9. Most of the time, you were getting there at 9:30. You were having to do TOH. Right. Well, TOH, that counts, anything you were doing like that. You would get there, you would do system counts, and make sure your systems are good. Or you would have the registers ready.
Yeah, and you would get strategic on, like, the days where you knew the TOH and the cat counts were going to be, like, super small categories, you'd not schedule anyone in until 9:30 or 9:45, but on days where it was like, 360 or whatever, you'd come in earlier.
Well, what we did was you would have, before I was hourly, it was so much easier when I was salary. It was so much easier to manipulate um,
Oh, the schedule and
the
stuff.
schedule
Oh,
because
100%.
you could do whatever.
Well, you
So
fill
what I
you
would
fill it
do
with
is,
yourself.
well, I would work about 48 to 50 hours a week because what I would do is on Fridays I would OC. I would open and close every
Yeah.
Friday because it would take up I would just have somebody coming in at like
Yeah, you
one or
do.
two,
Yeah, you would
and
work
then
an
I don't have to have
OC
a
and
GA that night. I'm just playing as the GA that night. Saves me 3 or 4 hours. I either on a weekend or somewhere else.
double up. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too. Like the malls, they respected mall hours, so they would open at 10, they would close at 9, and then on Sundays they wouldn't open until 12 and close at 6. But that's the thing. I can't tell you the last time I went to a mall and saw a GameStop. Like I
Yeah.
feel they have entirely pulled out of malls. And I think a lot of that probably has to deal with the rent and how high it is. Like they're pretty much just in strip centers. But and now you're right. Their hours are like 11 to 7 or 12 to 7 or
Which is weird to me.
oh,
But I
it's
think that's what
nuts.
like just going on a local impact too. Like I think that's what's killed a lot of the stores around here. Like I know that we had what are we down to like 4 or 5, 6, something like
Dude,
that in Louisville.
when you think of just Metro, yeah, you're talking like 5 or 6 total.
So if you take they I know there was like 15 or 16 back when I was there.
Dude, easily.
Um so
Easily.
you lose those and now you have like your game exchanges and
Oh yeah.
uh
Yeah.
Cardinal that have all the old games. Now I know you have on your Game Force and Game Factor. I don't they're not around anymore.
Are they not? I've been meaning to
No.
ask you because
No,
I've
they're not around anymore.
so but no, so back in the day,
It
so
was those two. That's where you
So
would go for retro.
You had GameStop, and then your only 2 retro places, and I will say 3 for now. But you had Game Factor in Hillview, you had Game Force on Barstown Road, and then you did have Rhino Games. But of course, GameStop bought
No,
Rhino.
you're missing one.
Who else?
Book and Music.
Oh yeah, BME. I forgot about BME.
We sent everybody to Book and
Well,
Music.
that's
like
true,
for like they would come in with like games we don't take anymore.
Yeah,
We're like,
yeah.
hey man, we can't take them. The only
But
place
like
that could. And then we started taking the retro games.
right,
And changed it.
but true retro game stores. But yeah, now I didn't realize Game Force and Game Factor were gone. But now, like chain wise, because Game Exchange is a chain. So you've got these chain game stores that carry new and classic stuff. You've got these retro specific stores popping up, and then yeah, locally, Cardinal is a big one. That I mean, yeah, they do card shop and stuff, but they have a lot of retro games and stuff like that. And I mean, it's just what I find to be interesting. GameStop is struggling. They're closing all these stores. Their footprint's not as big.
But it's weird though because if you look at their numbers, they're struggling, but they're struggling. Their online numbers are still good. Like
yeah, they
their brick and mortar isn't the same.
right. And the thing is, the brick and mortar for not just GameStop but for everyone is struggling. Like
everywhere.
I mean,
they're shutting down brick and mortar stores everywhere.
oh, dude, I think the whole thing with GameStop is no one has gone to GameStop for their trade deals. Like it has been an ongoing joke.
Recently, no.
Yeah, well, no. Even when I worked there, it was always a joke about,
I mean,
I'll give you $3.50. Like it was always a joke about how much.
$5.
Yeah, but there was an experience, there was a vibe. I mean, yes, I think digital media is definitely and frankly, GameStop tried to get ahead of that whenever I was there. Like they were trying to get ahead by selling like those digital codes and then getting a percentage and all these different things. I mean, unfortunately, the idea of brick and mortar game store, unless you're talking retro, just doesn't make sense. And I think that's where we have the pivot that we've seen with the card stuff, the PSA grading. Dude, I don't know and I don't know about you, but I was in the store over here in Clarksville and they actually have tables set up to play Magic. Like a card shop now.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, surprised the hell.
Well, they had something on their Instagram about having they had a Pokemon tournament or one of the stores. Yeah, like a Pokemon TCG tournament.
See, and I can appreciate the hustle and the pivot to try, but I don't.
But the problem is, there's not a lot of stores that can even do that. Like, there's not even the room in the stores to do that.
And that's the thing. Like, I will say, we talked about the locations earlier. One of the main reasons that the idea of or this concept of an idea for this GameStop episode came up. So you brought up Dixie Manor. I also worked at Dixie Manor. I also worked at Park Place. Southland Terrace was on 7th Street in Louisville in Shively. And I'm fairly confident was the largest store in Louisville, square footage wise.
Oh, by far, because I
Because,
was there a little bit
yeah,
too.
because the rent was so cheap there. But that store, one of the guys I used to work with, Chauncey, shared on Facebook that Southland Terrace has closed, which now means every GameStop used to be 3 on Dixie. Everyone is gone now. They moved their pre-orders to Outer Loop.
Or if you count Greenbelt, which is right up the street.
Well, no, Greenbelt's closed too, I'm pretty sure.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So, I mean, there's nothing on that part of town. And it literally said on the sign, all your pre-orders have been moved to Outer Loop. And anyone from Louisville knows Dixie to Outer Loop is not like a hop and skip away when you're talking
it
rush
takes.
hour middle of the day.
If I had to go get something from when I worked at Timberwood and I had to go get something from Southland, it took me
Dude,
25 minutes.
Even if you took the back
roads. You would hit
roads,
traffic, you would do all kinds of stuff.
You could try and go down Outer Loop to New Cut and go back there through St. Andrews and stuff. It'd still take you forever, you know. Man, I didn't think I need to go back that way. I haven't driven back there in so long. You know how much I love nostalgia. I need to go back there. Why? What is it like? Not safe? Is that what you're telling me?
It's something.
Dude, you know, everyone tells me Oklahoma's not safe, and I'm telling you, it is a life goal to wound up back in that neighborhood. I'm going to find a way, and I'm going to wound up in that neighborhood. But
so, that's what I was going to bring up too, is like the stores, like, and it's stores like that store, believe it or not, made a lot of money.
Oh,
like,
yeah, I guarantee
they made a lot, but they did lose a lot of money. They did have a bunch of shrink, other things.
Yeah,
you know.
they had. We were talking about payroll hours earlier. They were a high shrink store, so they had extra payroll hours.
Yeah, well, and it's weird too. So like whenever you were salary, you would have, you know, they would always cut you at the lowest. You would go to 83 is what your hours were. It was 83. So they would start you with 110, but then they started doing this thing. I don't know if they did it when you did, because I remember.
I was going to say, I remember Southland being at 110 when I was.
Well, so what they did with us was, so I started at 83.
Yep.
If I am looking at my numbers and I'm trending to be profitable for the week, I would gain hours for the week so I could bring more people in to help sell.
Really?
Yeah. So like Timberwood always gained hours.
No, it was very black and white with the hours.
Oh, no. It started changing when they started doing it, because they were like, their thing was, okay, look, if you can be profitable, then we want more people working in your store to service the customers to be even more profitable.
See, and for folks that are like hearing this, so 83 hours. Think about this for just a second. Back in this era, we're not talking about when store managers became hourly. So minimum was 83. And frankly, I feel like Tim and Lisa would jump in and say it was maybe lower than that. But I think 83 is a solid number. If you think about that for just a second, store managers didn't count toward that. So you basically, you would assume you want to give 40 of that.
Quick math real quick. You have 127 hours with the 44 hours of store managers plus the 83 hours that go to every other employee.
But if you listen to what I said take that out of it. I don't want to talk about store managers and hours. I want to talk about before then. So store manager time didn't count toward it. So you had 83 hours. You want to give your assistant, who's a full-time employee, you want to give them 40. So now you're down to 43. Almost every store had a third key that you'd want to get them as close to 40 as you could. But you on that
because
math,
if you didn't, they would leave.
Yeah, but with that math, you couldn't. Like you have 83 hours. You know,
if you think about it, like okay, so you have 83 hours. You have 40 hours. Say they go to your assistant. That's 5 days, 5 8-hour shifts.
Yep.
You have 2 off days, right? Your 2 off days have to be covered by another key holder. So on those off days, so you're down now to 43 hours, right? So you have to give a third key an 8-hour shift on the 2 off days that you have.
Yep.
So that right there is 16. That takes you down to having what was I at 43? So you take 27 hours. You still have to cover your assistant's 2 off days. That's another 16.
Yep. So you have to be
that takes you down to 11 hours that you have to figure out how to cover your store to have a second associate.
Well, and the thing is, that's why I think that has a lot to do with why GameStop, you'll never capture the same vibe, because it used to be a place to hang out, and it was always the same people. Now, different when you start talking about the busy stores, because they had more hours. But
Yeah, see,
like,
I always had somebody like
yeah,
our shifts would always you had an opener, the closer came in at 2 unless it was the manager closing, they would come in at noon,
and have a
and
part timer
then
at like 4 or
the part timer
5.
would come in at 5.
Yeah.
So you would work
So
5 or 6.
but it got to a point, especially with your regulars, like everyone knew each other. So it was very much a, I mean, but during non holiday time, like stores like New Cut and stuff, we'd have your store manager, your assistant, your key holder, and then you'd probably have 2 or 3 part timers. That's it. And then they'd only be getting 5, 10 hours a
Timberwood
week.
outside of because the way that they did it, because Timberwood always had two SGAs on top of having, so you had your store manager, which like we said the hours didn't technically count. You have your assistant, so there's 40 of them. You have two SGAs. If you have two SGAs, you have SGAs working GA shifts
Right,
just to make your
exactly.
time up.
Yep.
So
Well, and that's the
you
thing. Like,
don't have any room to have them, but you have to have them in case things happen.
yeah.
And you're like, hey, can you come in and work tonight?
And I'd love to know how they function right now because I mean I can't remember the last time I went to a GameStop and more than one person was working.
Oh, dude,
Like
I don't even know.
there's almost
They
only one
where
person working.
they usually only want, you'll have a little bit of a coverage through the middle of the day, but your opener is basically by themselves till 2 or 3, and then your closer comes in from like, they'll come and give them a break. They'll have like an hour
Yeah,
or
and
two
then they're there
overlap,
by
and then you close
themselves.
by yourself. I think that is extremely unsafe.
Oh, agreed.
And I think that it is crazy because you really can't get anything done, because if anybody walks in your store, even if they're only in your store looking for 30, 45
You don't
minutes,
want to completely
you
neglect your
can't go to the
customers.
back. You can't neglect them. You can't, like, you have to, you
Nope.
still have to be
No.
there.
But no,
So,
it ultimately the fact that GameStop used to have such a huge footprint and now like I feel that they're basically like just grabbing at straws to just try and stay alive. I look, my closest friends and best memories come from this place, but I don't know how they're going to exist another 5 years. Like,
I think, well, see, I looked it up. I was curious, and I went on a rabbit hole not too long ago.
oh, on the financials,
They're actually profitable.
are they?
They're still a billion-dollar company that's profitable. Not very profitable like they used to be, and
Right.
their profitability has went down. Like they used to be a $9 billion store or $10 billion store when I was there. Now they're down to like being like it's like a $2 or $3 billion store.
Yeah.
So that's still
and
$3 billion, still a lot of money.
And maybe maybe this whole pivot to cards because
I think they're pivoting enough to where they're staying somewhat profitable that they will be around longer than you think.
yeah, frankly,
I think they may not have but 1 or 2 brick and mortar stores in an entire city.
yeah.
But you're gonna have 1 or 2, and then you're gonna have the online is where they make all of it.
I think what they need to do is exactly that. Limit their brick and mortar presence, get into a bigger store, and then all that retro stuff that they've got going on online, they need to bring that. These stores like Game Exchange and these mom and pops, they need to bring all that in. They can keep doing their cards and their board games and their collectibles, fine, but they need to bring that.
Well,
retro
remember
in.
they brought the whole template, I think, last year of a retro store.
Yeah, but it's
I
not.
haven't heard anything
It's
about
exactly.
it.
Technically, Timberwood is a retro store. Have you been in there? They don't really have
No.
anything. So,
Well,
but
what they need to do is like take Timberwood and like move it down to where Tuesday morning used to be. Well, Crunch
and
is
take
there
up the whole
now.
thing.
But like just get a huge store, and instead of having even now, like we just talked about it, like you limit it, you bring all the product into one store and run it like a big box retail store of
There you
gaming,
go.
and then do it that way. I think that would work.
I agree. And you know what?
Then you don't have to really worry about hours. You would always have coverage. You would have because instead of you spending X amount of dollars on 5 stores, you have all of that money funneled into one store, and we used to talk about it all the time. So like whenever the mall closed, they jumped almost $1 million. Like Timberwood went from being like almost a $2 million store to being like a $2.8 million store.
Oh yeah, I guarantee.
Because they're still gonna go. If you want to go to GameStop, you're gonna find a way to go to GameStop.
Yeah. Well,
So.
and it just hit me too is that I mean, Louisville went out of their way, and GameStop opened a warehouse here as
Yeah.
well. And
Well, it wasn't. It was close, but it
Yeah.
wasn't actually. Well, I genuinely thought when they bought ThinkGeek back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
it was gonna skyrocket them.
Yeah,
because ThinkGeek was huge. It was a huge
that
acquisition.
is true. And I will say, I assume you haven't been. Have you been to New York City or no?
No.
There, so the GameStop at some point, I guess I don't know if it's still there. The GameStop in New York City, down at the bottom floor, was a ThinkGeek store attached to GameStop that had a bunch of cool stuff in it. But
Yeah, I do. I do. I remember they took a huge, gave us, they had a bunch of stuff because, we had our own website that we would go to. Like, we would check every morning to see if there's anything new that GameStop employees needed to know about.
yeah,
That was one of the things when it opened. So,
well, yeah. So in the interest of GameStop and the nostalgia and all things, look, we from midnight lines to empty stores because they're so empty and closed they don't exist now. I mean,
when
just
I like what we didn't bring up is you go into stores now. Like, I had a buddy tell me the other day he went into the Timberwood store. He said he was in there for 15 minutes, never saw another person come in.
yeah. Oh, dude, it's nuts. It's nuts.
So, which is
But
crazy because that never happened.
oh yeah, yeah. Well, and so all of that being said, that's going to wrap up our story mode specifically. But we are going to keep the momentum going in this GameStop talk as we jump into our first side quest, Power Cycle, where really the whole purpose of Power Cycle is very specific bulleted points, kind of deep pull memories and nostalgia. But we want to keep with the GameStop theme, if you will. So I'm going to start with, because the notes that I have down, I put down for myself, but shopping at GameStop. As a kid, we've talked about our time there and employment, but we haven't really talked about shopping. So, I think everyone can assess that I shopped in the mall. I've talked about it enough times. Which GameStop was your go-to? Like before you
So that's
started
definitely the
working?
one that I went to the most because it would do it. Like I said a few weeks back about malls, like that's the one that we would go to on Sundays, so I could go in and look
Oh,
at.
so
Or
St. Matthews is the one you
no,
go.
no, J Mall, because we would go to J Mall a lot
Oh, okay,
because
okay.
my grandma's favorite place to eat, and for the longest time was Sample.
You can never go wrong with Sample. And
So
yeah, because yeah, see, so okay, so I was J Mall too. Like that was the store that I was in all the time. And now I will say, once I got to be a little bit older and was able to walk further, like I'd walk down to Timberwood, it was a bigger store. But no, I mean, and I assume you spent just as much time being one of those annoying kids at the demo units as I did.
oh yeah, I mean if we had time to kill and I was able to do it, that's what I was gonna do.
Yeah, because I mean, before you started working there, I mean, they would have had the 360 demo units and stuff like that. Like I
They did.
remember going in and playing the PS2 demo units, the N64,
So
before those came out. But the whole thing for me, I mean, 13 years old, I lived within walking distance of the mall, so I was that kid. We talked about how GameStop was a hangout for kids, and I mean, I was that kid. Like I'd go in there and just hang out and play on the demo units and talk to people about games.
yeah.
You know, I can't remember the last time I went to a GameStop as an adult and had a conversation with an employee just about games. You know,
I mean, I haven't. I can't talk to you about the last time that I went to a GameStop that I actually had somebody come out and be like, "Hey, other than you need help."
no,
No.
okay,
Well,
And now look, I can't remember. Now this was my first job. I got it at 15.
no,
Look,
I worked somewhere else because I worked somewhere when I was 14. I worked.
okay.
I worked. I did. I worked at a pizza place. I would come in on the weekends and just clean it, and then on
Okay.
Saturdays they would let me come in and I would clean um, their. I would help do dishes when they were busy for a couple hours.
Gotcha. Okay. No, I literally like I don't know how big of a deal it was for you because it would have been a few years after me, but everyone was all about driving. Like that was the thing in Kentucky, which it's different now. But you would turn 16, you'd get your permit, you'd have your permit for 6 months, you get your driver's license. That's what everyone wanted to do on their 16th birthday. Like that was the thing to do.
Mhm. I got my permit right after my 16th birthday.
Yeah. See, I didn't like. I told mom. She was like, "All right, do you want to go get your permit on your 16th birthday like your sisters did?" I'm like, "No, I want to go to GameStop and I want to fill out a job application. That's what I want to do." I was that kid who wanted to work at GameStop, and I was a regular there. And Lisa was the store manager at the time, And I did. I went to GameStop, and Pope was her third key. I can't remember who her assistant was. I feel like it was a guy named Josh, but I could be mistaken, or maybe Dave. But I went and got that application. I was so excited. Now, what's funny about this, I think back to the first job application I ever did. I mean, I work in HR now, so the idea of reviewing applications is like deep rooted in my DNA.
It was bad, wasn't it?
Oh, dude. And my handwriting is so god awful. Like, I don't know how Lisa even managed to read it, to be honest. Um, but what's so funny, and I don't know if I've told Lisa this or not, so she listens to this, so it's going to be really funny if I haven't had this conversation with her. But one of the things, and I've used this tip to this day, every job interview I have ever had, someone told me, whoever you're interviewing with, find some kind of common. Now, back then, you couldn't cyberstalk somebody, so you'd have to know. It's like, find some kind of common discussion point that's not job related and talk about that in the interview. Well, I knew from being a regular that Lisa was really big into horses. My sister was really big into horses. So in this interview, where I was a nervous wreck, I'm a diehard introvert, and everything, and I'll talk about that in a second, and we've both talked about it. But that's what I did. I made it a point to talk about my sister and her horses with Lisa because I wanted to give myself a better chance of getting the job, because I got the interview a week later. And ironically enough, I got hired like 2 days after the interview.
My interview was weird because Scott was there.
Really?
So Scott was
you interviewed at the store probably. We interviewed in the food court.
So, no, because I dropped my application off.
Oh.
And I had a phone interview with Amanda. Because it was technically for a seasonal hire. Because I turned 16 late. Because I turned 16 at the end of the year.
Gotcha.
So it was right as she was doing seasonal stuff. And basically she worked it out to where, and I'll never forget. So when I went and took the application in, Amanda was there. But Mom walked in with me because I couldn't drive. I couldn't do anything. So I walked in and dropped it off. Well, Amanda ended up interviewing me over the phone, and Amanda loved my mom.
So you just did a phone interview? You didn't even do an in-person interview?
I talked to her when I dropped my application off for a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
But it was like just a little thing, like it wasn't anything crazy. And then I had a phone interview, and she gave it to me and basically made it to where I would work whenever Scott would work, because Scott had to pass my house on the way in, and that store had the hours during Christmas.
Right.
So Scott would come down, and on his way down, he would pick me up. On his way home, I would go to his house with him because it was always the weekend that I would work.
Oh man, yeah. See, I forgot to. My interview was at the food court, but again, being at the mall. But now I can't remember. I know I've talked about it, but the thing is, like, I still feel this way, even though brick and mortar isn't as common unless you're talking big box. But and you wouldn't think so with the way we have a discussion, but we know each other. We're friends, therefore I have no problem yakking. But at my core, I'm an introvert. I don't like people. I don't like being around people. It's funny because our episode next week is going to be talking about crowds. But I am a firm believer that every person should work retail for like a year.
We've made this point multiple times.
Well, because it really forced me into having to talk to people. Like, I remember like the feedback and the coaching that I received from Lisa when I first started as a 16-year-old was about talking to people more, greeting people when they came in, and stuff like that. Like, it was very much that's what it was. So I'm a firm believer in that everyone needs to work retail, and I think that's where I got comfortable talking to people.
I've made comments before too. Like, that's what my whole job is, talking to people. Like, that is what.
Oh yeah, now yes.
Like, that is literally what my whole thing is. I have people come up to me all the time. I have to deal with people.
Of all walks of life and everything else. See, there's your other benefit, is all the different stores that you've worked at over the years. You've gotten to learn the whole city of Louisville and all the different demographics. And look, the biggest power cycle moment of talking about GameStop and the deep pull aspect is this right here. Like, you all have listened to me and Austin talk for 19 episodes. And we've had Howie on. Now, given Howie, Austin, Wayne, they have history before GameStop.
I've known Scott since basically I was born. So
right. But Howie, like, the whole reason I know these guys is because of GameStop. You've heard us talk about Tim and Lisa, so that's GameStop history. I mean, it is insane to me how, when I look at every job that I've had, I've encountered people and worked with people that I felt really tight with, and I really thought that I would never lose touch with, but I have, but not you all. So like the idea of the friends for life because of GameStop, and again, there are people who have met and found love and gotten married that work together at GameStop. I'm not calling nobody out, but that's the thing. GameStop brought all of us together in some capacity,
Yeah.
But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into our last side quest so we can get things wrapped up here. We're going to jump into the DLC drop. Now, the DLC drop, new releases, coming soon, stuff like that.
Yeah. The first game that I want to talk about, I know, is not the one you were probably going to go to, but it's Pocopia.
Yeah, I think I just saw you flip them on the document. I was looking. Dude, Pocopia. Straight up.
Game is fantastic.
Oh, my God.
Game is worth every... Wayne texted us today and said, I was almost late for work. And we're like, what? And he said, I was almost late for work because I was playing Pocopia.
Well, and
I
didn't you say
track
the same thing the other day?
Well, yeah, I was like, dude, I literally lost track of time, and I almost, I was like, oh, wait, I got to go get ready. So,
dude, I already knew it was going to be good. Like, I felt very confident, and
I didn't know it was going to be that good.
Neither did I. Like, I'm so overwhelmed. In a good way. I mean, if you are a fan of Pokemon, it doesn't matter. Even if you hate Animal Crossing and you hate Minecraft, you hate Dragon Quest Builders. If you're a Pokemon fan,
it's the best of Animal Crossing with Pokemon. Because, what gets me is, outside of, the building and stuff like that, which me and you talked about before we ever started this, but, okay, so, your flowers and stuff, you plant them. Well, what they've done is you can either wait, or you can use a Pokemon to make it to
grab Bulbasaur
and say, hey, go ahead and take care of these for me, and next thing you know, your stuff's there.
Dude, it is insane how much this game is going to soak up my life.
Yo, dude, I told Chase before, I texted him yesterday and said, look, I am so happy that this is the last game that came out. That this game is the one that came out.
You've been working on your single player stuff, and now this is going to be able to hold your time.
This was when I was like, hey, I'm going to do the backlog stuff. Well, and now I can't even do the backlog stuff because I'm stuck on Pokemon.
Yeah, well, and the other thing, yesterday, March 9th, Monday, they've got their first event that apparently started. I haven't gotten into that yet, but apparently there's 3 exclusive Pokemon to get.
Yeah, one of them, it's Hoppip in his line.
Yes.
I saw a video about it today.
So that's going to be something I got to dive into too. But now, look, I know you haven't played it yet, but the other new release that
I've seen a lot of stuff on it, and I talked to a lot of people about it.
Man, Resident Evil Requiem, dude, this game. Now, I'm not a diehard, when I think of my obsessed series, obviously Metal Gear is the top. I don't put Resident Evil in my top 5. I do love those games. But Resident Evil 9, the perfect spread, and I don't want to talk spoilers for obvious reasons, plus I know you're going to play it at some point. But, dude, it's the perfect mix with Leon's, John Wick style gameplay, and then, which it's truly, that's not an exaggeration. That is badassery gameplay. And then Grace. Dude, I don't like scary stuff. We've talked about this with Wayne because Wayne's big into horror and he likes that genre. I don't. I'm a pansy. I needed Pocopia to be out when Resident Evil came out so that I could play Pocopia before bed. Because Resident Evil 9 was scaring the crap out of me. I was having to text Mom and be like, hey, when you come downstairs, turn a light on or something first so you don't scare the crap out of me. But dude, the game looks great. The thing I will say TikTok's blowing up about, which is valid, is the voice acting in this game. Dude, it's peak. Grace's voice actress, the quivering, the scare, it was nuts. And look, I'm going to say this. The one thing I will say that is spoiler kind of heavy, not really, but kind of. Anyone who has arachnophobia, there is an aspect of this game you need to avoid because I've
heard about it.
No, I finished that. And I immediately booted up Pokemon Red and played for an hour before I went to bed because I knew I'd be having nightmares about that crap.
Yeah.
But it's so good.
And the other game you don't have on here, we've already kind of talked about, Dragon Quest.
Oh yeah,
That
we
game came
both
out
just
last month.
finished it. Yeah.
That game, I put 50 hours in that game. That game was fantastic. I loved the reimagined. Like I thought it was great.
You are historically not a huge JRPG guy. Now you've played them, unlike my buddy Brian, who hadn't touched them with a 10-foot pole.
Played them.
You've played them. That
Dude,
was a really good one.
I put so much time into that game. Like, and I still plan on going back because I want to finish. There's a couple. I know there's like 2 tablets.
Oh yeah, the extra tablets
afterwards, and there's one tablet that I somehow couldn't find the last piece to.
Yeah,
I have to go back and get it. Because I want to finish it and get all the. Not
stuff.
as worried about the medals, but I want to get all the islands. And
right.
Stuff back. So I want to go back and do that.
And what's so funny is literally, we've talked 3 different games that are so random in genres: Resident Evil survival horror, Dragon Quest happy-go-lucky deep story, and heavy themes, JRPG, and then Pokopia, which is super cozy. But what's funny, I did a TikTok.
I saw it.
I did a TikTok, and look, if you have listened to all 19 episodes of this podcast, now 19, I am the least look. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. I make the joke, even if it's the wrong opinion, but it's truly a joke. Like, say what you want, say whatever. I did this TikTok, and I knew it was going to be like a triggering thing that was like, hey, you're a real gamer when you just finished Resident Evil 9 and you're diving into Pokopia. Talk about range. And sure enough, people came in the comments and were super salty, like, oh, you can't gatekeep, and real gamers don't say real gamer. I was just doing it to be funny. And look, fine, I'm not free from consequence, I guess, but I was just, the whole point of that statement is how wide of a range
the games were.
But I just thought.
I knew how you meant it when you said it.
Yeah, because but for someone.
I saw that and I clicked on the comments. I was like, this has quite a few comments. And I clicked on it and I was like, oh, they did not take it the way that
no, and it's fine.
I knew it.
Yeah.
But I noticed all you did was you didn't reply to them. You just liked their comment.
Yep. Yeah. Because I'm not going to get in a pissing match with people. Like, I wasn't saying it to be a jerk. It was saying it to be funny, I guess. But, it is what it is. But the thing is, I'm thrilled that we have Pokopia, because Pokopia is going to hold me over, because our new releases that we have kind of coming up, and this isn't everything, but like for me, we got Pragmata come in the next about 45 days, which I still think you need to play the demo because it's definitely a fun game. It's going to be good. Then Saros, which is about 50 days away, which did you see where Sony is pulling the reins back on the PC stuff?
No.
They are going full exclusive. No new Sony releases are going to ever come to PC. They've confirmed, like Wolverine, PS5 exclusive. Saros, PS5 exclusive.
Oh, so they're not going to do the laid out,
nope.
The late, it's like a 6-month.
No, and Ghost of Yote is not coming to PC. Like, they've completely shut it down.
That's probably part of the news, because the Xbox made the comment where they may not be doing consoles anymore.
I think there's a mixture of all of that. But speaking of Xbox, though, Forza Horizon. That's probably my next big one. It's about a little over 2 months.
I'm not big on car games. I don't know if I'll get it.
They got a Gundam collab, though.
They do. I'll probably play. I want to look at Pragmata because you made comments about it.
And if my computer ran it, yours will do. Yours will work perfectly.
I was gonna also bring up the Resident Evil. Just going back to Resident Evil real quick.
Yeah.
I have a buddy that actually did get it on the Switch.
Oh, really? What did
Plays
you think?
Fantastic. Apparently.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's beat it like 2 or 3 times already. Like, I have another buddy that's played it on PS5, and he's he's already got. I think he's on his 4th playthrough. He's got all infinite ammo. He's got an infinite rocket already.
See, I need to get infinite ammo because I'll play it again. I don't want to go through the scare. If I could just play Leon, I'd be fine. But Grace scared
He sent me the video of him with Grace, and it wasn't a spoiler or anything. It's just him in a hallway, and it's him with the little AR that he's got all the upgrades on it. So it's got the mag and stuff.
Yes.
And it's going just destroying the entire wall.
That's how I'm going to play it. But he did say it ran good on the Switch.
Yeah, so his brother actually is the one that I talked to about
That's
it.
Great.
And
I was wondering how it performed.
He played it. He's beat it, so it's obviously doing okay.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So,
So,
but no,
which
a lot
that's
of
just a call out on the fact that the Switch is actually like it's doing well on running first party games. Like,
also. Before we close out this side quest talking about new releases, I haven't told you about this. I saw it literally as I was outside smoking right before jumping on here. There is a leak going around that that today 310 Mario Day, by the way, that they may be announcing Super Mario Titans as the next 3D Mario game, which would make sense if they're releasing a 3D Mario game this year as to why we're not getting Winds and Waves until next year.
that would make sense because that means
So,
that would come out like November-ish.
so if today, whatever Mario event they have on March 10th, if they announce Super Mario Titans, you can tell everybody you heard it here first. Even though obviously I've seen other people
That would
talk.
even make more of a sense because did you see? Speaking of GameStop, did you see what GameStop's doing for today?
No, what?
If you dress up like Mario and come to the store, you get some big like they're giving discount codes to
I
people who.
wonder if I go and show the picture of me being a store manager at a GameStop in a Mario costume, I would get something.
Probably not because they can't see your face, big dog.
That's actually a good. Oh, dang it, that's a good point. All right, fair enough. I'll
But
just go with a red hat and
they're doing
mustache.
something. They're doing that as well. So
Well, I
that's
have to
something.
look into
So
that. So
but that would make sense
there,
because you want as many Mario people as you can on Mario
that's
Day when they're announcing
true.
the new Mario game.
That's true, and we're gonna have a new trailer for Galaxy, which we need to make plans to go see that. By the way.
Yes, we do.
So,
but
but
I think that's gonna wrap it up for our DLC drop and our last side quest. I think.
yep, that'll do it. Let's go ahead and jump into our save point. Good Lord, man.
We always say they're not going to be.
we
as long
always
as
say
always
hey, this topic probably won't be as long. Do you know what our time is right now?
probably an hour.
We're at 105 is where we're at, and
But the tangent about talking about like DMs and stuff kind of
exactly. It's so funny though because that's just how we operate. Like we literally I don't think we're gonna. I feel like the last time we did this that was super obvious was the mall culture one. Like we're like, oh, you have more to talk. You were talking to me. I have more to talk about with the mall than you do. But we ended up going down some tangents and we wound up being over an hour. So lo and behold, though, we went down the GameStop rabbit hole in a lot of ways. Talked about how things used to be, how they are now. A whole lot of locale things. Our Louisville folks, the people we
now
know,
we're going to go away from it for the next episode.
We are. So
I'm actually excited about this one because this is something that I will talk about because I'm very excited about.
Well, and I've got, ironically enough, we're both wearing shirts about it. So our episode next week, which is going to be my birthday episode, is going to be crowded but worth it. Now, I will say what Austin is excited about, I actually don't enjoy that much because it is too crowded for me, but we're going to talk about all things like theme parks related, also Disney. Now, what I'm specifically bringing to the table is for like conventions. We're getting ready for the Lexington Comic and Toy Convention that happens every year in March. I have gone every year since 2013, so this is the 13th year I've gone. Basically all things fandom related because we're also going to talk about card tournaments. We had our card game episode a few episodes back where we talked about all these events we went to. Just
basically about being in places that are crowded, like
cons
and
all
theme
things
parks,
fandom
card
related.
Disney itself, like
I mean all like things fandom related, and Austin is
my biggest portion is going to be about the Disney because we go. Fun fact: Austin goes to Disney every single year, pretty much.
He is a Disney adult. He's just a Disney adult that also happens to have kids. But no, I've got a custom lightsaber from Disney as well. The whole reason I have a custom lightsaber, though, is because Austin had a custom lightsaber, and I said, I want one too. So
that sounds like something cool. Let's do that when I go.
Right, exactly. So, but anyway, next week, crowded but worth it. Going to be all things fandom, cons, theme parks, tournaments, etc. But, we say it every time. Thank you again, as always, for coming along for the ride, listening, giving us feedback. You can always, make sure you catch us on the social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. I'm not posting as much in some of those, cross-posting as much because things have been busy with work, but always on TikTok posting stuff. Also the email address, the midnightreleasepod@gmail.com. Go ahead.
That's pretty much all. I'll just say thank you. Appreciate everybody. Keep listening and be ready to come back next week. And it'll be a little bit different because we're talking about theme parks and stuff, which is something we have not even remotely brought up.
No, not at all. Like I said, the whole thing really, though, is to stick in line with the fandom aspect and the nostalgia aspect, because we will talk about, you know,
First theme parks, things like that.
first theme park experience, first con experience. Again, it's ironic.
I know you usually go to Kentucky Kingdom.
Look, if we want to talk about you know what, I feel like I need to tell the story about the first.
Just wait till
only
next
time
week.
I rode a roller coaster. Yeah, remind me of that. But regardless, thank you all as always, and just remember that some memories are worth lining up for.